Nothing like sleeping on a problem and try the next morning again. As you might have seen last night in the lectures, I fluffed and couldn't do example 3 for love or money, and I couldn't figure out what the problem is. Well, fortunately this morning I did manage to figure it out. So let me just pick that up with you quickly. I'm going to share my screen, and this is where we ended up with example 3. Now let me just open up the PowerPoint slide, and here is, I'll cut and paste the solution in so that we know what I was aiming for to get. This was the answer from the slides. I'm just pasting it here. You can nicely see it. Make it a bit smaller. You can read it. So clearly this is what I'm aiming to get. And as you can see, here is where my calculation is. Let me just do it nicely. And I'll put this formula just right next to it, so you can see what it is. Paste. Okay. Well, okay. So there you can actually see the formula that I used. Now, the problem turns out to be this 30%, because all the rest of the calculations is not in percentages. So this 0.0149, if you look here carefully, it's none of this is in percentages. So the moment I change this into not a percentage, then you'll see the result is correct. So here's where I've actually done the calculation. I turn that into 0.3, and voila, my calculation works exactly out the same. So the real answer is, instead of using percentages, use fractions. So instead of using this proportion, I should really say 0.3 and not format it as a percentage. But okay, let's try again, 0.3. So be careful with that. As you can see, I got caught out when should you use percentages and when not. So let's recap quickly. It says, yes, so let's change this to 0.3 and this to 0.32, 0.32, and remove the fact that it's formatted as a percentage. Once you've got this, the problem becomes clear. So the Laurier company brand has a market share of 0.3, not 30%. In a survey, 1,000 customers were asked which brand they prefer. What is the probability that more than 0.32 of the respondents say they prefer the Laurier brand? So we're looking at this area here, because it's that area. In our formula, we need to put 1 minus norm distribution, 0.32 as the X, 0.3 as the mean, D6, which is this value here, because we estimate the standard error, or in other words, the standard deviation, as P, Q divided by N, and Q is 1 minus P. I hope this clarified it. I have to admit that I'm quite relieved, and I hope I managed to clarify it for you. I think it also demonstrated, you know, sometimes one do have a problem solving it, but you just got to persevere and review everything. Take home lesson for me: when you work in percentages, work in fractions and don't use percentages. All the best. God bless.